Hello everyone, welcome to Chasing a Murder. Today I'm actually going to talk a little bit about the Chad Daybell Trial. So this is about the doomsday couple. If you haven't heard about this couple, not familiar with this story, you might want to jump back and check out some of my videos, especially Life Beyond the Grave series. It really covers it in intense detail. We know that he is on trial for 3 deaths. 3 counts of first-degree murder: Tammy Daybell, J.J. Vallow, and Tylee Ryan. 3 counts of conspiracy to commit murder for J.J. Vallow, Tylee Ryan, and Tammy Daybell. Grand theft and insurance fraud. And as you can see by now, after watching several days of the trial, because we're on day 7, working on day 8, that his attorney, John Pryor, is working on showing the jury that he might not have been the leader of this cult. Okay, some people call it a cult, some people call it a group. Whatever it is, that there's other people that might have been heading this group of people, which I partially agree with. I'll share why a little bit. We'll touch on that today. As well as I want to talk about one of the witnesses that showed up yesterday. That would be Melanie Gibb. Melanie Gibb is one of the top ranking followers with this group of people. She is the most loyal, the one that Lori counted on the most. We'll talk about her role in this, little group. Building Zion, preparing for the second coming of Jesus Christ, and the fact that she was having a little bit of trouble remembering dates and times. And this is odd for me. I think it's odd for John Pryor as well. And I noticed that the prosecution was working very hard to make Melanie Gibb feel as if she was protected, as she was, standing in as a witness for prosecutors. During Lori Vallow's trial, well, she really didn't have much to deal with. In fact, Lori Vallow didn't really sick her attorneys on all these, what she would consider backstabbers. So I want to start off talking a little bit about Melanie Gibb. I'll probably jump back and forth because I didn't have a lot of time to put this together. Okay, who remembers this interview with Nate Eaton at East Idaho News?
And is that when you told them everything you knew?
Oh, yeah. I told them everything. Just like I'm talking to you. I just let it out. This is back in December, the early part of December, before the first release, the press release, because we talked about the dates to make sure, I was, and I was accurate, and I knew that I was, but I just wanted to make sure.
Now, for a lot of you that follow this case, know that Melanie Gibb disappeared for quite a time. And Nate Eaton was one of the first people able to get her to speak out publicly. And we know that most likely she was busy putting together her dates, her timeline, and her story. That is what most of us believe. But Melanie Gibb said it was because she needed to take some time away, that she was scared for her life, and that it makes sense because Alex Cox was gone. Lori Vallow's being watched. Everybody knows that. And so is Chad Daybell. So what would suddenly make Melanie Gibb be afraid? Well, she was talking to police. That's why. We watched several of her, I don't know if it's interrogation or interviews with police. We watched Melanie act naive, silly, even kind of trying to bat her eyes a little, innocent. It was clear that she believed that she was playing these investigators, even going as far to tell them that she doesn't even know how to manipulate. But on a stand Friday, I think that that's most likely not true. Chad Daybell's attorney, John Pryor, actually called her out several times to show that she wasn't this innocent, naive person that didn't manipulate people at all. In fact, she was actually making a few calls on who was dark. And according to John Pryor, it's one of her good friends from Preparing the People. That's right. Nancy James, Michael James. Yeah, Nancy was dark. I'm jumping ahead a little bit here. Let's hold up for a minute. Let's go ahead and look. I was actually showing you a clip where Melanie said that she knew her dates, her times exactly. But in court, when being questioned by Mr. Pryor, that didn't seem to be the case. Suddenly, she had amnesia. Now, they are talking about this piece of property that they are interested in for their group interest for the future. Remember, Chad had deemed that the Rexburg area would be the safe place to be when all the earthquakes begin, when the wars begin, and when Christ return or is on his way to returning. The first piece of property they speak of is a church property. Why would they be interested in that? Well, it seems that there was this invisible temple that they seen there, and they asked Melanie if she could see it. So remember, I believe that Lori's obsession with this group was to build a temple. That's my belief. And they're talking about this area, this piece of property having this invisible church or temple.
No, I saw him Sunday morning.
You did? When was that?
Shortly after we went to this field behind a church building. So sometime in the morning. I felt like it was in the morning. Could have been late morning, but it was sometime.
Do you recall discussing with Lori that after Chad gets out of church Sunday afternoon, we'll go out and look at a piece of property? Do you recall having that conversation with Lori?
I don't recall, but it's possible.
Okay, so is it possible you're just confused about the facts and the time to go visit the land was really early to late afternoon on Sunday?
I felt like her seeing a piece of land that I talked about first, and then going to see that land for sale was second. That's just my memory.
Oh, so you went to see a piece of land with Lori first?
Well, I wouldn't consider it was just this empty field that was behind a church, but it wasn't for any purpose of being purchased.
So you were traveling to the piece of property that you were going to go look with Alex and David, but you were traveling with Lori at that point, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Misstates the testimony. It's a narrative. I'd move to strike.
Overruled. You were traveling with Lori to go look at the piece of property with the real estate person, correct?
No.
Who were you traveling with?
Oh, I don't know who I was traveling with. For the first release, the press release, because we talked about the dates to make sure,
Sure.
I was, and I was accurate, and I knew that I was, but I just wanted to, I think maybe Dave and I were in the truck and we drove over there. I don't remember.
You don't remember. So it's possible that you were traveling with Lori as well, right?
No.
Okay. So you remember you weren't with Lori?
Yeah, I remember.
Okay. But you had mentioned that you and Lori went to see a piece of parcel first.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Melanie Gibb is being very deceitful on the stand. She knows exactly what that piece of parcel is, and she's doing everything in her power to lie that she doesn't know the names of the women in the car that she rode with, but she does. And she knows exactly what that parcel is. Because Lori was excited about this piece of land, and she was excited to share what she wanted or thought of this piece of land. And Melanie Gibb knows exactly what she talked about. But Melanie Gibb was very careful to just answer questions to keep herself from getting in too much trouble or opening any doors. Many people who are just catching on this case are thinking, maybe she didn't know. No, she knew exactly everything that was going on. She's not a stupid woman. The only reason she started talking to police is because for the first time out of all these incidents, the police were coming to her for answers without her volunteering answers. And she didn't like that. This was scary. She knew that what was happening to the people surrounding them was no accident. Melanie Gibb was in the center of so much drama involved with Lori. It's insane. She helped with Lori and Charles' breakup. She helped with the castings, knowing what the castings meant. She's already admitted that this means that you're going to cast the spirit out of this body, which means the body at that point should be vacated, which once it's vacated, there's nothing left. It dies. Lori and Chad stipulate that clearly of what casting out would mean. Let's pretend she didn't know. But now that Charles has been shot, kids are now zombies. She must have an idea, because there's several people who are attached to this group. They have an idea what's going on. They just don't come forward in the time they should have to save lives. And I think that's the most important trait of your character, is what you did to prevent anything malicious from happening. For most people in this group, it was after the fact. Another interesting note is the fact that Melanie Gibb was most definitely deeming people dark, though she will claim on the stand that she's never done that. She's never taught that. Pryor pulled up an email between she and Lori, and it insinuated otherwise. According to Melanie Gibb, everything that she was learning about this dark and light pre-existence, this sort of thing was coming from Chad Daybell. And Lori didn't know these things. Basically, this is the narrative that they built with the media from the very beginning. That Lori didn't know these things until she met Chad Daybell. But that's not true, is it? No, she learned a lot of this stuff from Julie Rowe, Michael Straude. Also, let's not forget, her most favorite book was Visions of Glory. While it is true, Chad Daybell did seem to, at times, insinuate that he was a leader, but really it was Lori. And he was only leader up to a point that she would allow. You can listen to audio and stuff later on where Melanie Gibb records talking to Lori and Chad begins to talk, and Lori doesn't like what he says, and she will stop him and correct him and then take over the conversation. This happens multiple times in text messages between Lori and Chad when ranking people dark. Chad will come in with a number, and Lori will say, I don't think so. It's at that point that Chad tells her that he will reevaluate the numbers and that he will agree with her. Now, there is a lot of hints in the interview with Nate Eaton and Melanie Gibb. I'm going to play a portion of it with you right now. I want you to listen to it. Share your thoughts below of what you think she's really thinking and what is her narrative here.
I want you to decide, as people that believe this, does having this information make you a better person? Does it make you loyal to your spouse? Does it make you feel like you're better than other people? Because of this information, I'll just say it this way, Nate. If this idea of multiple probations had not been introduced, nobody would have ever died. Because they would have never thought they were married before. This is dangerous doctrine. Because this is not how he works.
Now, Melanie is deterring the fact of the matter, in my opinion, of what truly caused this. And it was people believing that they could go past the church and teach these beliefs that the church doesn't teach. And it wasn't multiple probations as much as everything else. Go check out the Hebrews Foundation, the Isaiah Institute, the Universal Model. They're all connected, and they all were part of this preparing of people big time. What's interesting is supposedly James and Nancy were not part of this inner circle, at least according to Melanie Gibb, yet it was around August or a little bit before or after of 2019 that Nancy and Michael James decide that they don't want that much to do with Chad anymore. And it would be interesting to hear what Nancy and Michael James have to say during this period of time, at least their idea of what was going on with Chad Daybell. Now, Chad Daybell is not innocent by no means. He, even if he was manipulated in the worst way, he is a grown adult. He's been raised to understand what's dark and what's light, to be honest, what's good, what's bad, and he chose to go with the bad. And so this makes him culpable just as much as Lori Vallow. Let's say he didn't actually have anything to do with the lives that were taken. It was all Lori and Alex. The fact that he was there, the fact that he supported it, and he continued to support it is the problem. And that's John Pryor's job right now, is to just keep Chad Daybell off of death row. Excuse me. Share your comment for the next upload where we talk about the trial. Share how you think Chad Daybell, is he just as guilty as Lori, or is he not? Please take a moment to like and subscribe to my channel. This helps me with the algorithm. And I could use some help. Guys, I appreciate the help I do get. I love you guys. Actually, some of the best people on YouTube. So don't forget about these missing girls. Share a missing girl on your social media today. Love you guys, and I'll see you guys soon.